Yes, hello and welcome to Footy Talk for your Thursday, your daily dose of footy, the latest news, interviews and analysis from the world of AFL. And now as I look across the desk, I see a man who once snuck up behind someone like a librarian this week. Mr. Heath, welcome.
Thank you, Dale.
Geez, you're up and about.
Yeah, well, you know what? I was just thinking about it. You just reminisce on when we played in a few grand finals. I played in 4. Lost 2, won 1, drew 1. So I've had the full experience on grand final day.
You've had everything.
Yeah.
Yes. I've had everything and only played in 3.
Yeah.
A win, a loss, a draw.
True. I just went back. I was a glutton for punishment and just went and got flogged by 80.
There, that one against the Tigs wasn't ideal. What about this week? It's unique like no other, especially obviously for the teams in it, but also the buzz around the city is huge. What were your favourite memories of this week? And then chuck in the grand final plus post.
I think just walking down the street, people just love footy. They love AFL grand final week. And you know what? Even if you're a neutral supporter, you pick a team and you go hard at them. So I think just the acknowledgement of people like walking down the street, good luck or whatever it was, like walking down and hoping that you had a good game. And then, you know what? I'm going to be a bit controversial here.
What?
You know how they talk about players enjoy the week, soak it up, and don't do that. Just keep it as normal as possible. Do what you did the previous 23 weeks. Get the job done, and then you can celebrate and enjoy.
It's hard to keep it normal, though, because, and we know this firsthand, when we went out to training on the last time, the Friday before the game, and there's 30,000 people at training, it isn't really a normal week, and then you go to the parade.
But that's the best bit about the draw.
We didn't have to do all the silly stuff the next week.
The
carry on.
And we won.
So you did enjoy the parade. See, I
felt a bit awkward. I felt like the Queen. What do you do?
It is awkward sitting in the back of the.
Yeah. Well, how many times can you wave at people? Like I don't sort of get it, but I think it's good for the supporters. But it does interrupt the players' preparation, Dale.
I do enjoy the fact this year that they've given up on the floats down the Yarra and they're going to get everyone in a nice Nissan Navara, drive them through the city, can go anywhere, that thing, drive up over buildings and wave to everyone because that was absolutely brilliant. I love the fact that when we did it, and I'm not sure which route they'll take this year, but there was literally people hanging out of office buildings waving and cheering and abusing. And
it is. I must admit, it is good for like the supporters getting there and getting to get up close and personal with the players. But as I said, as a player, you just want to do your captain's run. You want to training, get your recovery done, and then look forward to the next day.
Did you have the same feeling I did when Nick Riewoldt got up to speak on the steps of Parliament as he was introduced and Maxie went first and then he said some nice words and the Saints fans listened and then we introduced Nick Riewoldt and the Collingwood fans went feral on him and just started the Collingwood chant. As much as it was pretty disrespectful, I was like, oh, shit, please don't let this be the moment that comes back to bite us in the butt.
I was just enjoying
the
moment because he wasn't laughing. I know, that's for sure. And it's just like, I think someone just decided to start it and then all the Collingwood faithful just jumped on and it was a little bit awkward. But I enjoyed the awkwardness of that.
He couldn't get a word out.
Nah.
So for anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about, you get presented on the steps of Parliament, I'm pretty sure it was at this time, and each captain got up to speak and say a few words, a little bit of an interview with the Master of Ceremonies. And when Nick Riewoldt got up, as I said, the Collingwood fans started the big Collingwood, and it was so loud, even with the microphone, you couldn't hear him. And he had like 4 or 5 goes and then just had to walk off tail between the legs.
I've had enough of this. I'm out of here.
It was an early moral victory. What about the day? Do you have any memories? Did you have a nice, easy drive into the ground? No crashes or anything? Were you running late? Did you have to take a detour and did you swipe someone's bumper bar off the car?
No. So what happened was I didn't hit the bumper bar off.
Yeah.
But the person
who was driving,
who was behind me, who I cut off, had to avoid me and clipped a car and took the front for a bumper bar straight off. And I'm just like, I'm not staying around here to give details over. I'm just going. So I just went floored it all the way to the ground. I had Alan Didak and Steel Side Bottom in the car as well, and they're just like,
when will you learn?
Hood overhead, everything. We were running late. It was like a bit wet. It was all happening. I just a bit of nerves.
Well, you didn't have to stop though. If you cut someone off, you don't hit them, and they have a crash. That's their fault.
It's true, but on the CCTV footage, it wouldn't look good for me.
Nah, but that's okay.
Those were good memories.
They are good memories. I remember talking about that in depth after the game, the Frabumper bar.
Did not take my suit off for 48, nearly 72 hours. It's a long time in one suit. I turned it inside out, I remember, on the Sunday, so it didn't look dirty. I wasn't going to be dirty on the outside, and then put it back in when we went out. What
about your smother? It is one of grand finals are made up of iconic moments. People try and kick torps with their first kick in a granny. For you, it was a smother in the replay on Nick Riewoldt, who tried to put it into row 15. What was going through your head? Can you remember whatsoever?
Yeah, I was literally running towards him thinking, because my man kicked it to him, and I was just like, geez, I've got to make an effort here, because my man's actually the one who kicked it to him, so I obviously wasn't paying too much attention to him. And as I got closer and closer, I'm like, I'm a bit of a chance here, and I'm pretty quick, but I didn't think I was going to make up 20 metres before he actually kicked the goal. And smother in brackets, because technically I just fell over him and
just launched over through. His boots.
Yeah. But they hadn't kicked the goal before that, so I think that was the point that people miss a little bit. They hadn't kicked the goal. I think we were on. It was 13-1 or 2 at that point.
This was the second week, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the second week. So it was an important part because they hadn't kicked the goal. They didn't kick a goal in the first quarter. So Nathan Browne said, "Thank you, no worries." I don't know where Nathan was. He wasn't anywhere near Nick Riewoldt. I wasn't near my man. No one was manning up. But it's I've said this a few times. 325 games. I'm going to be remembered for a smother.
Did you at the time think of how pivotal and iconic that moment would be, or you just did your job, got in, kicked the ball back in, probably played on out? Did you play on out of the square?
Correct.
Got the stat.
Played on, ran 10, 15, kicked it as far away as humanly possible.
Do you remember any of Mick's speeches pre-game? I remember they were awesome and we got so wound up you would have run through a brick wall, but I can't actually remember any words that he said.
The first one was unbelievable, brick wall.
Yeah.
Second one,
pure below.
Yeah. I think he used up all his good material the week before, but then we won by 50, so doesn't matter. And he lied to us in the pre-match before the first grand final. He said, leave it all out there. There's no next week, but he lied. There was.
We certainly tricked him up on that one. Of course, the draw coming back. Hey, stick around. Welcome back to the Footy Talk podcast. If you've got a question for us, jump on the Instagram at Footy Talk _pod or TikTok at Footy Talk pod. He's sure still here, but the man who just strutted in, usually in a suit today, just in the casual attire, Mr. Tom Browne, welcome.
Good afternoon, guys. I can't wait for this Saturday. It's unbelievable. Collingwood, of course, training. Oh, fuck. Can't pick that up, is it right?
Yeah, you do whatever you want.
Daisy, there's just a grand final filling in the air this morning. Good morning. The Pies training as we speak.
Yes.
Thousands and thousands of spectators at the Collingwood headquarters there in Swan Street. I just spoke to the club and they're wrapped with the turnout. There's a real serious finals buzz.
We were just discussing this in the first segment about how you try and keep the week as normal as possible, but it's bloody hard when you go to training and there's 30,000 people.
They're just
it's a little bit
it.
different, yeah.
I asked Darcy more about that on Sunday, and he just said, I said, how will you approach this week? And Nick Dacos was the same. They said, we'll just try and embrace it and enjoy it for what it is. And I think they're doing a good job with that. They've done a good job on their media as well, Collingwood, this week. Like on Tuesday, they just nipped the Adams issue in the bud and said he just unfortunately can't play. The whisper there was that he was a 30 or 40% chance, I think, of doing it again in the game, according to the stats guys that I'd heard of secondhand. And unfortunately, it happened again on Tuesday, but it's kind of fortunate in the sense that you'd rather it happen on Tuesday
Get it
than
done
on Saturday.
early. They made the decision early, which is good. Now you're settled.
Then on Wednesday, Fly just got on the front foot from selection and said Billy Frampton is in, offers the most flexibility. Johnny Noble's sort of on the outer a bit at the moment, which I'm sort of a bit surprised about. I think the decisions now is in terms of the sub is Lipinski or Ginnivan. So it's going to be interesting to see tonight.
Oh, so I'd go the Guinea, 100%.
Yeah,
as the
sub, impact player late in the game, he's got the ability to come in and kick you 2 or 3.
I thought Lipinski was okay in the back third of the game against the Giants.
He's class. He's class. He can be class.
He
hasn't
like
probably been it this year, but he's class.
So one of those guys will miss out. Is that
Yes.
Your take on it?
Yeah.
Well, we'll wait and see for that one because that'll be heartbreak for one of them. What other news is knocking around, mate? You are here. I can't believe you're not in a suit. I don't think I've ever seen you in casual attire. It's sort of throwing me a little bit.
No, I did a COVID test, but I have got a little bit of hay fever. And as a Collingwood devotee, I'm steering well clear. I don't know if I'm setting you guys up. I'm steering clear of training. I don't want to have any part or negative part in anything to do with Saturday. I want everything crossed. I want to park in my lucky car spot at the MCG if I can get one. Seriously, I've got everything trying to go for me.
Lucky car spot. Do you get a car spot every week?
No, I usually get one off 7. I won't get one this Saturday, but last Friday night, the MCC attendant underneath the Southern Stand asked me to sort of turn it around and do a reverse. I said, nah, we beat Melbourne when I was parked in this exact spot, and we're going to beat the Giants. I'm very superstitious. I'll get through some news, guys. Peter Moore will present the cup for the Magpies. Of course, he's played in 5 grand finals, 4 losing ones and 1 draw, so that's incredible. Imagine Peter Moore presenting the medal to Darcy, so the cup, I should say, to Darcy on Saturday afternoon. I mean, that would just literally bring a tear to certainly my eye. It would be unbelievable. Lee Matthews for Brisbane, and no more appropriate person than Lee, who, of course, is a Pies premiership coach too. So a couple of great selections from both clubs.
Do you reckon they needed to go with Peter Moore, or they just got a double dip with Lee?
They could. I thought they could actually appropriately do. But well, Peter's not that relevant to Brisbane, but Lee could double in for both, couldn't he? It'd be nice if he actually helped Peter with the cup.
What else you got knocking around in and around grand final week, and then obviously some trades at potential, and also some players getting the flick as well.
Yeah, Gill on the farewell tour this week. He actually did confirm that Robbie Williams had planned to jet out here if the Blues got through, which is pretty incredible.
He can say
on
that
Instagram.
It didn't happen.
It didn't happen. Would have, should have, could have.
Yeah.
If your auntie. Yeah, exactly.
He's having the farewell tour tonight. As part of your farewell tour, are you jumping onto that?
I've been generously invited to Gill's function tonight.
Ooh.
So Tara and I will be attending Gill's. I don't want to make a big sort of hoo-ha about that because I realise it's a tight function, but I've had the pleasure of knowing Gill for a long time. Since he was a young pup executive at the AFL. He was different in those days, but he's had an incredible career and will stop by tonight. But all focus on my part on Saturday, not
Are you
tonight.
thinking caviar and Grange? Is this?
I don't think there'll be any caviar and Grange. It's an
think there
AFL
definitely
official
will be.
function. You reckon?
Yeah, if he's going out, he's going out and
100%.
spending to the
In
max.
style.
Yeah.
Okay.
All those fines
Bit of
throughout the year.
charcuterie sort of action.
No expense spared.
Well, you can report on that when we get back to you next week or whatnot. That'll be good.
Gill also just confirming again this week that he's backed the umpires to keep voting for the Brownlow. He sort of suggested yesterday that that's what produces the oftentimes anomalous and intriguing results, and I don't necessarily disagree. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think you get the anomalies because of that. The umpires don't see everything. It's hard enough when you sit on level 2 to pick out good players in some games.
Help if they could see the stats, though, perhaps.
Yeah, again, though, then you probably get tilted off your initial thoughts, which are often the best.
Yeah.
Like,
pretty
they got a
accurate in the
couple
end.
wrong.
If
Yeah,
you want
they
to
got a
compare
couple
to
of
the
games
coaches,
wrong,
they're
but
pretty
yeah, they got
close.
the
You
top
get
6
most.
right. So
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of discussion regarding Callum Mills' rotator cuff injury this week. I think Mitch Cleary revealed this story. It's an incredible story on 7 News. Callum Mills, who, objectively speaking, is one of the more conservative players you'll come across, doesn't seem like the sort of guy that would get loose on Mad Monday. There's now discussion about whether he should have his pay docked, his leadership stripped for wrestling. You guys would know. No better advocates or judges of Mad Monday than you two. What do you reckon?
Wrestling on Mad Monday is nearly...
it's a rite of passage.
Exactly. It happens at every single club. And it's not because you're trying to be the strongest man. You just end up, a bit of a headlock.
Bit of carry on and a few words.
I heard the media guy actually got an inquiry on it a few days afterwards, and because Mills had been in at the club and he looked fine, the media guy sort of batted the inquiry away and said, no, I don't think there's any issues there, and plus they're on leave. But Mills has obviously gone home and with a sore shoulder. It's got worse as a couple of days have worn on.
Ooh, he didn't direct report. There's
I don't know, it was a cover-up, but it was a bit strange. Anyway, so he's gone for the scans, and then they've said, you better come back and have a discussion about some surgery.
What's the time frame you're hearing? Because people are saying 12 months.
I'm being sensible in my old age. I don't want to speculate on length, but rotator cuffs can be 9 to 12 months. I've heard that before, so that's a long time.
Ooh,
that is a long time. And this just goes to show that when players don't drink throughout the season because they're professional athletes and they keep it very strict,
then
get to Mad Monday, have a couple of pots of Carlton Draft, and they're carrying on like pork chops and wrestling each other.
Essendon, guys, moving on, and St Kilda now, I think of the opinion that Todd Goldstein will end up at Collingwood. Now, his management, Tom Petroro, one of the top managers, is saying it's not quite done yet and not prepared to speak to that issue. But I think there's certainly the trade view and the trade world view from all the list management people I speak to and managers and all the rest of it, is that Goldstein would provide some versatility at the Pies next year. Thoughts?
It's an interesting one because they've backed in Cameron and Cox, and now if Goldstein comes in, you're assuming you bring him into play. So he plays round one, and then who misses out?
So would Goldstein play this week, for example, ahead of Cameron?
100% he would.
That's your answer then.
100%.
But it's good, though.
He's still top 4 or 5 ruckman in the comp.
You're going to get him for absolute peanuts, and he's a good ruckman.
Yeah.
So that's good insurance, really.
And him coming over if he's not going to play. That's the other part. So it's like...
Does it not elevate everyone, though? Does Cameron not have to play better to keep him out of the side, vice versa?
But round one.
Yep.
Who plays?
Whoever's in the best form. And that's a long... We're not hypothesising about this year. We've got to get through this week.
It gives you back up on injury as well. Adam Kingsley, Coach of the Year. I'm all for this, but it's a bit stiff on Fly, who just won a quiet 18 games.
And Ross Lyon as well.
Ross Lyon. It's a strong field.
Nah, Ross Lyon.
I reckon...
is behind Kingsley.
The silly thing about that...
a bit stiff.
I agree. The silly thing about that award, and I'm not saying it's a silly award, is that if Fly was to win the premiership on Saturday off the back of 18 wins, having knocked off the informed Giants, Brisbane and Melbourne, you'd have to say he's Coach of the Year.
Why do they give it before the grand final?
They shouldn't. It almost should be the Premiership Coaches Award, I think.
Yeah.
But no disrespect to Adam Kingsley, who I think's taken them from 16th to a preliminary final. Pretty incredible.
Could have given him the Most Improved Coach Award.
Just a participation award.
Yeah, just give him that.
Anything else before we go?
Yeah,
the Footy Show's
30-year grand final special tonight, so make sure you stay tuned for that as well. That'll be a good show.
You won't be at that. You'll be at Gills.
I'm Channel 7, so it won't be the Footy Show's 30-year grand final special. I grew up watching it. Guys like you on it, and Tara and I will be dropping by Gills.
Did you do any of the reviews? The player? No.
They were big in their day.
They used to be, yeah.
There was a big sort of nosh up at the Collingwood headquarters afterwards. They often booked that out as a...
Is it all the old school hosts and all that back in tonight?
As far as I know. What could go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong? Tommy, as good as ever. We'll give it a tip from you, though, before you go.
Collingwood by 13 points.
Norm Smith medalist?
I'm just looking at Daisy in terms of a tip for the Norm Smith medalist. I reckon Jordan De Goey.
Righto. Heath, did you just write Pies by 13 as well?
You've got Pies by 13.
Before.
I'm not sure if this is a good thing if you're on the same wavelength together. You guys need to sort this out. I'm not sure if that's a blight on you or a blight on you. We'll move on anyway. Tommy, thanks very much. Have yourselves a wonderful week. And if you could just bring some caviar, and if there is Grange, just pour some into a flask and bring it home for us.
An absolute pleasure, and hopefully good omen being in the company of 2 Pies Premiership players. That means a lot to me. Thanks, guys.
Which predictions for the weekend? Who wins? This is where you respond. That was a question.
Who wins and by how much? I thought that's what you were going to say.
Who wins?
Okay, who wins?
Who wins?
The Pies and like our mate Tom Browne.
T. Browne.
I don't know if he read my sheet on the way in, but it was, I said 13 points as well. I think it'll be a close one.
13 points. I like the number.
Yeah, which would be pretty nerve-wracking for Collingwood people because they know the ability Brisbane have to score. So 13 points is 2 and a bit kicks. And it's dangerously close, but I think it'll be a good game. I think they win by 13 points, and I've got Nick Dacos
for the Norm.
For the Norm, I know it's stock standard. He's probably going to be favourite, but missed out on the Brownlow this week. People voting, they know, they watch the Brownlow. They know he's a bit stiff because he mixed 6 games, so they might, if he's 32-1, I reckon he's getting a few votes.
Second up from a spell as well.
Yeah, and he was good last week.
He was.
Come off the bench. Where do you reckon? Do you reckon he starts on?
Has to start.
Surely. Whereabouts? Halfback? Midfield?
Midfield.
You reckon he'll start in the guts?
Straight in the guts.
I reckon he'll start halfback.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you've got to give Brisbane a look. They'll be planning for where he's going to go. Even forward, starting forward, throw a bit of a curveball at him, a little bit of funny buggers early.
Well, if he starts in the guts, does someone go up and get into him?
I would assume that he's going to get the crap battled out of him all day. I know if
Mitch Robertson was playing, you reckon he would go straight
I reckon
for him?
Chris Fagan could go proper old school. I know Fev talked about this yesterday and just put someone in the side to go wobbegong him, take you 12 weeks, and then sub him out of the game.
So bring Mitch Robinson out of retirement.
And I'm sure he'd be up for the job.
You?
First goal scorer. Just give us one of them. The people want to know who kicks the first goal. Can you see a vision like someone breaking out of the centre and
Jamie Elliott.
Clunk or off the deck?
Yeah.
Nice big.
Breaking out of the middle.
Yep.
Maybe Pendles on the left. Jamie's done a little sweep around the back. He's got 4 or 5 on his opponent. Bang, mark. Pocket, 45-degree angle, probably 30 out.
Ooh.
Being very specific here.
You are.
On the right-hand side. And then, kicks a goal.
I've got just this vision of Bobby Hill. Pick the ball up, one step, snap. Yeah, away you
crumb,
go.
Bang, snap.
Yeah, crumb. Like real, like just... You know, one of those ones where the players converge and then someone.
How do you reckon he would celebrate?
I reckon it'd be arms out, like chest out, both arms out. Just how good am I?
And then grab a jumper,
and then a bit of jumper grab, then a double cobra, cartwheel, backflip into half pike.
Nice.
I'm going to be tipping the Pies, and I think they can get it done by 4 or 5 goals. I am confident that they can get it done 4 or 5 goals. History tells us
Who's going to kick all their goals?
I think this is, although it's a weakness, it is also maybe their greatest strength that the Brisbane Lions don't know. You look at the other end, you know exactly what you're going to get and how to stop them. You don't know with the Pies. They need to have multiple goal kickers, which they can do. And for the best on ground, for the
Norm Smith.
I know he said Coleman. Scotty Pendlebury.
Didn't he steal your one?
He did. He borrowed it. I got votes in both games, and he only rocked up for the second one, but not the point. A lot of players
Not
did
bitter
that.
at all.
Scotty Pendlebury for the Norm Smith medal, in and around the umpires. He'll have class. He'll do a couple of things that just separate and will be the difference in this
He
game.
doesn't play a bad game, and he definitely doesn't play a bad big game.
And if there is the opportunity for him to win a medal, as we've seen, he finds something else. He lifts a little bit. Hey, all
Surely
the very
there's no
best.
room left in his medal cabinet.
He might need a bigger house, one of the 3. Thank you very much for coming in. I will see you on Saturday at the big game. Tomorrow, Joey Montagna and Jack Heverin as we inch closer to what's going to be an epic clash at the MCG. This has been the Footy Talk Pod.